Okay, hello everyone. Hello Gary. Thank you for joining us here on this occasion of your masterclass coming out. We have an opportunity to speak for an hour about chess. So we already started the conversation before, so I think I kind of triggered you a little bit, made you curious
Yeah,
there.
you definitely
Yeah.
just made me very curious.
So I think
Yeah,
we'll have to start with that. We have to
yeah,
start to get that out of the way. So
yes.
in fact, in your very masterclass, I mean, let's get that out of the way and then talk about what it is. Basically, a 10-hour course on your new website, Kasparovchess, and there is a chapter there, which is you called "My Greatest Game," and well, you said there that
It's very subjective to the greatest because people like big long combinations, and it's definitely the longest combination I ever calculated, and it's almost study like. So it's the game was Topolov in '99 in Vikanze. So and I'm really curious because this game has been checked and rechecked with computers. Every new generation of computers, has been mobilized to make sure that it's all okay. But it seems to me that that's at one point we established the final verdict that my move the move Queen C3, which I again made almost instantly because I saw the final position already somehow, like just it's like lightning, was a mistake because Rook at A7 was winning fairly again. But
let's
by
pull out
computer,
the board.
let's
Start
pull out
from
the
the start.
position.
Start from
Yeah.
the start. So the famous combination, it begins with rook takes d4, right? And then
It
he's
takes
not forced
yeah,
to go cd.
yeah, but this combination is as every combination, it can be refuted at the very beginning. So and if Topolov played, I think King B6, yes.
Yeah,
So
that's the cleanest.
right,
But even something like queen f4 is like also very little for
it's,
white. But king b6 is just it's
yeah,
bordering
yeah.
better
So
selection.
but here he saw. I mean, he told me after the game that he saw Rook E7 after C takes D4, and he just he just believed it would be nothing but perpetual. So and he said, okay, it would be nice, nice way to have a perpetual. So but he was wrong.
Yeah,
So
so the perpetual is here after queen c3, queen
yeah, exactly.
c7,
Queen
almost
C7,
29.
yes,
Yeah.
Queen C7, and then he gives perpetual check. So that's the this. So after Queen C3, Queen takes D5, I go Queen C7, and he has to do perpetual because otherwise Queen A5 mate. So he saw it, and he was quite pleased. Nice. But actually, as we know, and it was found by Kavalik, and I don't know whether he used computer or not, but he, in a few days, he recommended Rook A7 instead of Queen C3. And computers show that it's fairly okay by computer standards, fairly simple win. So because Black cannot Bishop B7, we just simply take there, and eventually Black King is being mated.
Yeah, 95 is the line you give the prettiest one with rook a6, queen a6, queen b2. And then it's very basic, but very pretty, of course, but this very basic mate with king b2, queen b3 mate. Yeah.
Yes, Queen b3 mate. Yes,
So this is the kind of pattern that you, Topalov, and all the top players see instantly, of course. So by the
it's quite amazing that at one point the pawn gives the mate.
Yeah, so you don't even need the bishop on h3 in that line.
No, you need bishop on h3. Because otherwise Queen e6 will be defending b6.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Exactly. The whole every piece is playing. Without bishop on h3, Queen e6 is the only defense. But with bishop on h3, Queen cannot support the bishop, and Black is defenseless after Queen just against Queen b3 and bishop takes bishop takes and pawn takes, which is again typically study like because this mates do not happen. It's only from the old-fashioned studies. Yeah, but okay, I played Queen c3 and. Again, this position was analyzed. We believe to the very just found everything. So just to the bottom to the bottom of just exhausted every opportunity.
Yeah, I can imagine. No, but that's also the feeling you have, like when you analyze at some point, because you try to reach the truth, and then you think you reach the truth, and that's kind of it. But
it was natural. Queen c3, so it takes on d5, rook a7, bishop is a rook b7, and then that's there were a few moves analyzed in this position. I think it's even in a 94, rook h8, but eventually Queen c4 was it was just like consensus that Queen c4, Queen f6 as in the game, and now rook d1 check, King b2, rook a8. So and that's was the best defense. And what was planned? So and just Queen b6. Queen d4, take, rook takes f7, a5, bishop e6, and white has my best games in Kasparov and Kasparov. I analyzed the game and I said Black has drawing chances, which is correct. Black has drawing chances. Though White has good winning chances. So I was very cautious in evaluating it. But now you told me that was Rook takes F7 was a mistake.
Yeah. So how it was actually
trying to calculate it in my mind. But
here, but I don't think you can calculate it out. Although it is a case of something semi-intuitive, perhaps. But basically, how it happened is my friend Erwin Lamy, who is my longtime trainer, he likes he likes chess history, and he enjoys to see the classics, with the newest computers. Every time new generation of computers comes up, and he studied this game as one of perhaps by many is the most spectacular game of all time, of course. And that's, let's say, the lazy answer. Whenever they ask me, what is the best game you've ever seen, this is the sort of the go-to answer. Yeah. If you don't want to be too creative, you just say this is the one. If you don't want to be too original, you just go with this game, because it's definitely by many considered the game, even in Vaikanzai tournament where it was played, on the poster, it's there on the board. So just to be sure. So he went over this game, and he does it very meticulously, because he left the computer running on these positions for a long time, and it came up with the win here, and it actually works very much in your favor, because that means that this move that you made, Queen C3 and not Rook A7, that's actually also winning. So actually you did make a mistake starting from Rook D4.
Yeah, but still, it was practically a mistake. Because
but practically also not, because you won.
if we reached this position, I would have taken on F7, after a couple of minutes of thought, and then probably still won the endgame, because endgame.
On one hand, yes. On the other hand, what happens after Rook F7 is that he gets the king out of the cage with A5, AB. So
I know, but how you? But now, this is here. We can mobilize our fantasy. But
the move is Bishop D7. So the move is Bishop D7. So first of all, you stop A5. That's the first thing.
Because of Bishop C6, yes.
Bishop D7. Can I share the?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So the move 35 after. Let me see how we got there. So Rook D1 check, King B2, Rook A8, Queen B6, Queen D4.
Yeah, okay.
Takes. 35 Bishop D7.
Bishop D7 will stop A5. Yes. Okay.
Yes. It stops A5.
We paralyze the Rook on A8.
Yeah. So the winning idea is Bishop C6, Rook C7.
Yeah.
Kick the Rook out, and then
back to A6. Yes.
Yeah. Somehow Rook B6, Rook A7, Rook A6. Yeah. So the line, the main line, goes Rook D6, stopping Bishop C6. And now another sequence, for some sick reason, the only winning move is G4. The only winning move, but it's completely winning. It's plus 3.5.
But it's probably paralyzes Black's pawns there.
So you stop at 5, basically. You stop at 5, you're paralyzed. So Black doesn't really have a move. If G5, you have Bishop F5, and then C3, Bishop C2.
Yeah, and the Rook's ending is completely winning, yes?
The Rook... No, I think you don't rush C3 Bishop C2. It's just sort of there, I guess.
It's there. Yeah, but he can bring the other Rook, yes. Yes, let's say G5.
The main line goes G4 Rook F6. And now another move that is the only winning move is F4. Rook takes F4, and now Bishop C6. And now you got Bishop C6. Then you bring the bishop back, so via D5. And if Rook D5, I imagine Rook C7. Probably winning.
Yes. So this is let's show Rook B8, but let's at the end. Rook B8. Rook A7.
It's not so easy to show, because Rook A7, Rook B6. I think it all these lines, they are really maybe Bishop E8. Maybe you win slowly.
Yeah, Rook Bishop A8 and Bishop F7. That's right.
Yeah, I think Bishop F7.
You cannot escape now. Bishop F7.
Yeah. Basically, you need to get the bishop to B3 at all costs. Yeah. So any square does it.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. That's wow.
And if you leave the engine after Bishop D7 for a long time, it just shows that it's just totally. It's plus 3, plus 4. So it's completely winning.
Rook D6, G4. Yes, and after G5.
Before H6, I think was H4. The only move as well.
Yes, H4. Okay, but again, you said the only 4. Why not F4, for instance? Just to
instead of G4.
Yeah, after H6. After H6, why H4 is the only move?
I think F4 was actually here. F4 was also possible. It was also a good move. Yeah, I think F4 was also a good move.
I think it should be also with that.
F4 was also a good move. Yeah. No, the Rook F6 was the most accurate, forcing F4 somehow.
Yes, but after G5, Bishop goes on F5, and we're just waiting there. Probably go on E4 with the Bishop.
G5, I think Bishop
F5. Let's say H6.
I wonder what if a5, by the way.
A5. Yes, A5.
Maybe bishop
A5.
d7.
Yeah, with bishop. Yeah.
No, let me think. What happens after a5? The
Yeah,
thing
but
is,
probably
even c3,
yeah.
rook d2, bishop c2. Yeah.
The bishop c2, take.
Yeah, it could be completely winning as well.
K3 d takes a5. Yeah, but that's the
rook f7 just
rook f7. That should be difficult. Yes.
Yeah, you win the second pawn as well, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you should play b4 now. Yes, the only chance. Yes. But then take. Even,
yeah, I mean the king is probably too far. Take, and then
king d3 when we can play.
Even
we don't have to. We don't have to start take this pawn.
Yeah, no, the king is cut off. The black king is cut off.
Cutting the king completely. So just to.
Yeah. So let's. Yeah, that's the good news. That's the good news for you to start the day.
Exactly. I said nice, nice reminder of the great game, and also just it's like a redemption. So I was Queen C3 was not missing a big win, and it by the way it created another interesting study-like position. So it was rook and bishop in the end game.
Yeah, and I think it also touches on one of the chapters in the masterclass, because I think there's a big portion is about the artificial intelligence and the computers. And
yeah, absolutely. And it's just this I know that now just we do a new edition of my great predecessors with Pliseski and Shakarov, and it's amazing that we started the project in the late 90s, and there were a few iterations, and it's every time you use a new generation of computers. You find new ideas. It's just, as if it's endless. Oh, you think that's it, that's just, how can you improve it? Yes, you can. And now just, some of the games that have been analyzed around 2005, 2006, even 2010, they have been totally redone. It's just, it's amazing. Some of the evaluation, exclamation mark. No, it's actually question mark. So
no, I can imagine. I mean, I experienced it also working at the openings, because many lines also go far into the middle game. And I experienced it even in short term, like even stuff that I worked on in 2016 or 17, like even those can have some pretty big, pretty significant differences.
Even there.
Yes. So even like Stockfish 14 compared to Stockfish 13, there are some significant differences. Not with giant changes, but with when it comes to nuances.
That's on the top professional level. That's
exactly. It makes a difference. I have to change my files with every generation. Like most of, unless it's something really forced or really dry. Yeah. Most major lines, I think, with like Stockfish 13 to 14, 12 to 13, every single step, I add few moves here and there. Some ways are maybe easier. Like there is an easier equality. There is a little bit. Better try. So like some small things are tuning all the time. So I imagine it worked from 2006. Like it must be totally different.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing. I just looked at some of the analysis. We believe that's it. I think it's just the remember my game with Vishan in '99. The one that I had the line in neither. I played with black. Mm-hmm. This is the Vishy. I think just he got 5 minutes left for I don't know last 15 moves, because he was totally shocked by this in-depth preparation, and it ended up with it's winning endgame for me, but I blew it up and it was a draw, and then I just eventually I trapped him and he relaxed and just made a big mistake at the end. I had only bishop and knight versus knight, so that's an empty board. And I thought that I already made a mistake earlier, but at one point we just discovered that even just there this again machine shows fairly complicated, because you have to cut the knight, and of course knight is being trapped elsewhere. But it's for human, it's just they don't see the big difference. But machine immediately picks it up that knight somewhere is being too far away to be reunited with the white king, and that's
but it's always a combination of these concepts. Like bishop d7 is also stops a5, but it's a combination of concept with some C calculation, which is g4 f4. Like it's like
the moment you see the idea of bishop d7 and then bishop c6, then that you have to start pushing black's rook, and yeah, when you explain it, I mean, g4 is very natural. It's again concept because you don't want black pawns
Play f5,
to move. So and g4 looks the most natural. Otherwise, you will lose tempos because you don't have also many moves. G4 leaves black with no
no clear pawn move. No, of course you can rationalize it easily.
Yeah, exactly.
That's hindsight.
That's all we always do. We start rationalizing.
Yes. But it is based, of course, fundamentally on the combination of some positional factors and also very concrete lines down the line. And like you mentioned also in the masterclass, the fact that the rook on h8 is very crucial and it's not on g8, and that's also a thing that
exactly as I remembered, that's the late Tegran Petrosian, kept telling me that again. Yeah, people talked about strategy and the positional chess, but everything changes with one pawn, moving from h2 to h3. So you just put the pawn on a different square, and the whole position can change.
Yeah, no, there's for sure that in chess as well. I'm actually very curious when you mentioned the great predecessors and that you are working on the new edition of that. But I think we should, for now, stick to the project that we are discussing here.
Absolutely.
At Masterclass. So I think let's sort of, before we dwell too much and go too much off topic, to just take a look at the at what Masterclass is. How would you describe it yourself, like in short? What is the purpose? What it is exactly?
Yeah, chess fans know that I had another Masterclass recorded nearly 5 years ago, and that was a traditional one. More like tips. Explaining. So what you do, what you don't do, and this time I wanted something different, very different, and. Of course, it's still chess, and it's still, people expect me to share my extensive knowledge of the game of chess, but it's very much based on personal experience. It's not, teaching, what you have to do in these certain middle game positions or how you play end games. Yeah, it's everything is connected to my personal experience, to my life, to the games, and it's a combination of history, teaching, but also entertainment, because I think now what people want to see, it's a personal experience, submitted to them in the most entertaining and educational form. And I hope that Masterclass achieve these goals.
Yeah, and I can imagine, because I was also contacted by a similar thing in Holland, a local Masterclass, let's say. And people who don't really know chess, they want that you tell them in span of some hours and somehow improve their level, but that's not how chess works. Chess is like, it's hard work, right? It's years and it's grinding, and it's like
it's not the game of tips.
No, exactly. It's not like you can say put the pieces in the center, but that's where it ends. Like, I mean, that's
pieces in the center. You have to put your rook behind the pawn.
Exactly.
The end game, and you don't have to put the pawns at the same square as your bishop. So, very fundamental.
It ends very quickly. Yeah.
Yes, but they will have no practical impact for a player that that does know how to put things together, because chess is the game of the big picture. And your ability to actually collect this knowledge and create a very effective solution for each position, because sometimes you have to go against these principles, or even makes it more complicated. You can actually deal with a problem that has like a controversial messages. You have a couple of fundamental principles that you have to respect. Some of them you have to go away. Again, how you do the balance. It's about trade-offs, and this is the professionals, we all know that it's about trade-offs. It's just, you make decisions based on evaluating factors like material, time, and quality. And explaining it in a few tips is virtually impossible. So
exactly. But I think what you can accomplish is you can inspire people, and also when you tell your story or you tell your own experiences, I think a player as experienced as you, without being aware of it, you drop some really important knowledge that can help people, that people can relate to on their own level, sometimes in their own field as well, So I think for sure in that sense, it's definitely very educational. And in terms of entertainment, I think like how I would see it a little, because I familiarize myself with the Masterclass as well. Like I often, seek some entertainment, which is like, in basic, like some comedy show, but sometimes you feel like you crave some sort of information, you crave some knowledge a little bit. And you've got a few of those things, like for example, there is this Netflix series, I think Explained it's called, and when they do these short documentaries about various things where it is very entertaining, but basically you feel like you learn something. And I think this masterclass is, in a sense, fits into that category, right? This kind of educational entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. I learned, from tons of comments I've been receiving after the release of the Queen's Gambit. So that's what this is how people view the game of chess. And so this is what are the expectations, and personal experience always comes first. So they want to see an individual, a personality behind the scene, behind the chessboard. So we see that just bland advice doesn't work. And so that's why I think it's what we have on Kasparovchess.com is just, we have ambassadors, just experts and top grandmasters like you. So sharing this it's through a kind of personal lens. And I wanted to actually in Masterclass to push it to the limits. It's so personal that people could feel engaged, and it's personal stories always gets emotional, and that's good, because that's these days, during the pandemics, people appreciate more and more, your emotional engagement and with them, and sharing I wouldn't call secrets, but it's like never told before stories.
Yeah, I can imagine. We can take a look at the structure of it, and then touch on the topics accordingly. So I'm not sure if I'm able to get the screen that I'm sharing up on the stream as well. Let me see if that's possible. Yeah, I think I did that actually. Okay, excellent. So we have the I think the masterclass is essentially like 5 different big chapters, right?
It's yes, it's divided in, yes.
Yeah, in some topics. So I think the first big topic, at least I don't know in what order you recorded it. I imagine you recorded it in different order, but the way it's finally made as a product.
Recorded, yeah. Trust me, it was. There were 4 days of constant recording, and yes, though we had a plan, but it's just it was a little bit messy. But I recorded even more than I originally planned. And then it was just the editing process, and it was quite funny because it's some of the elements have been overlooked, and it just took time actually to bring everything together and just to create very consistent flow of the episodes, and to bring them under 5 chapters.
No, finally, I mean, I only saw the front end of it. I haven't seen the whole process. I only see what is there on the website. I think finally it looks very, very sort of coherent and thought out structure, at least. I think the first one is called Queen's Gambit. I think you touch a lot on chess and pop culture. Pretty much is the first video.
Yes, I think it's important, just to make the connection with again, it's not just the pop culture. It's with the outside world, because it's this. I've been saying it, all the time, that one of the problems that chess faced, and we all, as ambassadors of the game, we all had to deal with, was the fact that in literature, so in pop culture, chess always had this, if not negative, but questionable image. And the great books like Stefan Zweig chess novel, or Nabokov's Illusion Defense, they definitely portrayed an image of a great chess player that was not friendly to the general audience, and also the stories about the chess geniuses like Paul Morphy or Bobby Fischer also created an impression that chess could be detrimental for your mental health, and that's why many parents could have reservations about bringing their kids into the game. I think that the Queen's Gambit has successfully destroyed most of these negative stereotypes, because it showed the opposite side of the game of chess, instead of denigrating the person. So it helped Bess Harmon to fight her dependence on alcohol and drugs, on these green pills, and it basically elevated her as a person. And
Yeah, I see. No, and I think like you would have a lot of people think or say that okay, chess is really fascinating and great, but just not for me. Yeah, like that's great, but it's not something for me. But now that you see that it actually, yeah, that you can try it, and there is none of this sort of weirdness around it, and that's because we have, of course, these people. And I think that that's a lot to do with the fact that chess is something that where you can realize your potential, even if you have all sort of exceptional things and paranoidal tendencies, like Bobby Fischer had, for example.
Yeah, but again, this is as I mentioned in my recordings, is that it's quite ironic that chess, it's with all these negatives, is chess has was always a very useful tool to show the and just an intellect prowess of a character. So that's why just I pointed out that few big movies where like in Casablanca, where chess has been used to introduce a character and this character's ability to sort of outfox opponents.
Yeah, no, that's been there forever. And I think especially with the relevance of Queen's Gambit, and I mean, you hear so much about it from people who just got into chess, how big of an impact it had. I think it makes a lot of sense as well that there is a chapter dedicated to that. And I believe like a lot of the chapters, and that holds for the whole masterclass, I got impression, and I've seen some chapters completely where you don't even need to know the rules of chess to just follow the story, right? It's just a story pretty much.
Yes, it's a story. Yes,
And so the second, there is a video how life imitates chess. It's where you discuss the book you wrote in 2007.
Yes, absolutely. It's a book, actually there's this new edition now is available. So they released a new edition after so many years, because the book was written in 2006. 15 years ago. New edition with a new intro, and again many updates that I wanted to bring in, I thought that would be useful to show that chess is connected to how chess connected to life. So how chess could be helpful beyond just moving the chess pieces on the board. How chess could become a useful tool to learn about your own decision-making process.
Yeah, what I liked about, like, I watched the chapter today, and I liked about it that when you were contacted by the publisher originally, the American publisher, you tell a story how you basically didn't work out with him, right? Because you didn't really like the structure of it. So I thought it was pretty interesting that you didn't want to go along with the structure that he proposed, and you decided to drop the project for a while, and then do it your own way. I think that's impressive, because I mean, you could also basically do what the guys asking you to do and just make the book and.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, no. But I was saying that I think it's pretty impressive that you've decided sort of to put that book on hold and then do it your own way. And I also, it was quite interesting to hear that the different editions of the book are also like entirely like pretty different from each other. Like the American edition, the Russian edition.
That's exactly what we talked about, the tips. So it's when the project started, the expectations of the publisher was, a book of tips. So how chess can help just a person, just an average person to work on his or her business, or private affairs or whatever. So, and I said, oh no, this is not about tips. This is just it's a very thorough and very in-depth process.
Yeah, and I was really pleased to see that you stay true to yourself, because I think you could also just go along and make that whatever they want to make and sell it and make money with it, and continue living your life. But I like that you stayed true to yourself and you wanted to do something that you really wanted to do. I think
actually, and that's how the book emerged, this project, and it's you mentioned few actually 3 different versions, and it's resulted from from different cultural approach, because the original one was the UK edition, and most of European editions, they just translated from this English British manuscript. But in America, they actually did some changes to make it more like straightforward business, like changing language from we to you. So much more that's it's not tips, but it's just teaching. But there was also Russian edition, where actually I added more chess, and it shifted in the opposite direction from the American edition. So that's why there are 3 editions, and sometimes people got really confused, about having different versions, because some translations, that were based on yes, American or Russian edition, and people who read both, they could get really just confused by the significant gap in the way that the material was presented. But then there's the new edition that's in the UK, somehow reflects this cultural differences, and I try to summarize it, and hopefully it will help people just to see the original approach behind the idea of the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fascinating. Also interesting that you devoted this. I was a bit surprised to see it, because it's an old book, and I've heard about it, of course. But I was a kid at the time. I read all your books, but I was reading only your chess books. I didn't read the non-chess books at the time. In general, when I was like that age, I was only reading the chess stuff. So that book sort of passed me by. But I was curious to hear and curious to see it come back after so many years.
But it's the original edition included the special sections about world champions. I used some of my experience or some of the knowledge I accumulated by working on my great predecessors, and included it there. Mm-hmm. So I was just trying to actually to connect the characters and the stories, personal stories of great champions of the past, to the certain topics in the book.
No, it's fascinating. The following chapter is the one that to be frank, I watched that chapter before I was asked to do the masterclass. So I sort of watched it for myself, not as preparation for this event, like the attacker's advantage. Yeah. I saw it's a small chapter with some chess. So I thought, okay, let's see. And I was fascinated. To be honest, I mean, I keep coming across stuff that I don't recall, like when there was this game with Timan with knight. I immediately saw knight c6 is probably the move. 95 is the move that you probably made. I don't know if I'd seen it before or not. I couldn't recollect it, but it's for me too. Like, it was quite refreshing to see. My favorite chapter, I think. What would you say about it?
Look, it's I'm the wrong person to argue, because that's very much my philosophy of the game. While I explain it, by the way, also explain in the book that there's no guarantee that you can get just an upper hand by using certain style, whether you are more defensive or aggressive. But it's about your nature, your character. And I always believed in the attacker's advantage, because while it could attack, being in attack always exposes you, and you create weakness in your position, and sometimes you have to burn bridges. But it also gives you a chance to see what's ahead. What's ahead. You can see the horizon, so that you can have certain advantage of leading the way. And I think it was from early days. I knew that was my style, and this is the way I approach problems, not at the chessboard, but also in many other instances. And that's why this chapter and this motto is the concept is very much dear to me. And now we live at a time where it's the pandemics proved us that there's so many things can happen to us, to the world, that we cannot predict and control. So that's why taking risk and trying to get ahead of the pack. So to just to be ahead of just to see what's happening just around the corner. So it offers you more significant advantage than disadvantages of being first and pioneering some risky endeavors.
For sure, I mean that holds in general, but because I am like you were a professional chess player, so like I was looking a little bit from the chess side. I mean, I think players who were successful attackers like yourself, and I believe Topalov as well, a great attacking player. I mean, okay, you both are in such, like, probably for you he's the category below, but he's also of course a great world champion. And my trainer Erwin worked a lot with him, and he always reminds me that Topalov was always saying, very simple, without big words, but always very simply, that attacking is always easier. Like whenever he would sacrifice, it would be not correct, but attacking is always it's always easier to attack than to defend. And that is a simple thing, but it does work this way, of course.
Look, it's I think it's just this is it's what Topalov said, because he is, as you point out correctly, also an aggressive player. So I wonder what would be your opinion, because your style is the opposite. So do you think that attacking is easier than defending?
Well, actually, it is not so easy, because indeed, I'm not as natural attacker as you are, not even close. At some point, I had a training session where me and my strong grandmaster friend played positions that were selected by our coach, and they were of very complicated nature. He wanted to teach me a little bit more, about the complex positions, because I was less natural. They came less natural to me. And you'd be surprised when we had these complex positions where the one-side sacrifice material, I would think, because I read all the books, your books and the Tiles games, like I was brought up properly, but I would think that attacking is easier. But I did find that there were some issues as well. Like you have to prove things. Like when you are a defender, usually you have only moves. You only pick up stuff. And in fact, there are also some difficulties with attacking. But overall, I think still the attacking is the more pleasant thing to do.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think it's especially easy to say for you because it comes natural to you. Then it is easy. But okay, chess is a complicated game. That is without a doubt.
Yes, but the question is now I believe that it's always easier to do what is natural for you. So that's why I ask you about attacking. So I believe that just for me attacking was very natural. So, but I could do probably other things as well. So, but that's why I would not take Topalov's award, as all the final truths, because for him it was natural. That's why it's easy. So
yeah, no, I think we are transitioning slowly from describing the masterclass into the private coaching session.
Yeah, okay, I don't know. Because
but you are for sure, and I say that as a good thing, because I definitely didn't pay for this one, and I'm absolutely grateful for sure. And I think you raise a good point for a professional chess player. And I did notice that often I constantly see that attacking is not easy. I mean, the thing is, you have to, I think it also comes with experience. Like you have to have a bunch of successful attacks to know that they work, to get the trust that it works. Because if you, like, I imagine, you've sacrificed a bunch of pieces against one guy you won, sacrificing against a bunch of pieces against the other guy you won. At some point, you know that, okay, sacrificing works. But if you do that less often, it feels like a bigger. It feels that it's a bigger risk than it actually is very often. And I think that for me that has been the case. I think I haven't attacked as much for a very long time at a high level. And
yeah, but that's, again, you said it's a private coaching, but that's very much the essence of the book we discussed, How Life Imitates Chess. It's you have to try to excel on what you're good at naturally. So that's a way to play chess. That's a way to do business. That's a way to run political campaign. You have to make sure that your decisions are being made in the most comfortable situation. So that's why, yeah, I will be more natural in just in looking for attacking options. But I wouldn't say it's easier. I wouldn't say it's more difficult. It's always personal, and that's I'm extremely cautious in giving an evaluation. So based on personal preferences and to generalize it, because it's what's good for me. It's like medicine, for instance. Something that good for me for the same sickness, so may not work for you, and other way around, because we're all different. So and it's the and
for sure.
Yeah.
And at the end, probably you succeed by maximizing your strengths.
Yeah, but you also have to cover your weakness as well. That's
the
idea. Sure. Yes, you just but it's while you understand what you're good at and what you're not so good at, then you just create a battle plan. And again, you always try to make sure that the position that or the climax of the game will be handled on your terms.
So and I think I have a question, and it also comes back a little bit in the masterclass. There's a giant chapter about your matches with Karpov, and I was always wondering, you had this first match where you struggled a lot, right? But maybe it was my subjective impression, but the impression was that at that time you were the weaker player at the start, or do you think that was just not? Or do you think that the match didn't go your way?
It's very difficult to make it, to describe them in such a simple terms, weaker player. So when I look at the games we played in the beginning of the match, let's say game 6, I still, couldn't believe my eyes. I can't believe my eyes, because it was so natural for me just to win the position by having all Karpov pieces on one side and his king on the other side. That's, I excelled in these kind of positions when I was a kid. So in 1984, I had to deliver it just, blindfold. So how on earth I could make mistakes? I mean, like exchanging queens, queen d4, and then not playing knight f5 instead of knight c6. So I don't know.
Maybe the pressure of the first match, got to you a little bit at the time as well.
I think we should probably talk more about psychology rather than about strengths.
You think so?
And that's why people can say, oh, Karpov played great, and this is the beginning, and then he played weaker. I don't think he played worse at the end. So it's because, they say game 47, he game 47, it was a lousy game for Karpov, but the game 6 could be the same. So just if I played queen h5 instead of queen d4, I would have made it him in a few moves. And the commentators will say, oh, how Karpov could put all these pieces on the queen side. He played so poorly. So there's always, a psychological factor. So Karpov was getting weaker, quote unquote, at the end, because I was getting stronger. And I looked weak in the beginning, because it's just, because Karpov, was, overall, Karpov's performance in every match was more stable than mine. So but if I played at the top of my ability, I could have beaten him. I could win. But often, I couldn't go to this average level, of course, quote unquote average, and the Karpov by being very stable and very consistent, that's the right word. So he always had an upper hand. And that's why all the matches were very, very close, except the fact that, I managed to win every decisive game. So because I mobilized to each decisive game, and Karpov somehow, he was not ready to.
True. I never thought of it this way. Yeah, I knew that you won all the matches, of course, but I never thought of it that it was actually always in one decisive game that pretty much happened.
I won the last 2 games in 1984. I won game 24. I won game 22 in Leningrad, so the decisive one. I won game 24 in Sevilla. Yes, and there's no that I won, but it's the 1990. There was no decisive game, so that's because I already had +2, after and a title which offered me a tie advantage. So after game 20.
So rather than the narrative that in the first match you sort of learned from him and have become stronger.
I did learn. Again, it was more like he helped me to actually recognize that I had to make adjustments. So it's more about making personal adjustments about your style. Understanding that I'm not playing in a vacuum. I'm not, just playing, against a computer. I'm playing against a human player, and I have to understand how to make these adjustments and how to make sure that I can fix, fix these. I don't know. It's not fixing mistakes, but it's just, to play with a pace that might be most unpleasant to my opponent.
I see. So I guess then to answer my question and to sum it up is that the first match you probably think at the start you had some psychological issues, probably because it's the first match and some extra thrill, there's some extra unexpected.
It's the extra thrill, and it's again the story would be too long. So yeah, you're right. It's
for sure.
It's a match, and it's an atmosphere, and naturally I was not yet ready for the challenge of that magnitude. Contrary to what I thought, because I believed I was ready, and the way I played in the beginning, especially game 6, game 7, and I played slow. I mean, it's in game 7, for instance, it's not even before I made this horrible mistake, rook c2, in not exchanging queens, which was natural. I already got in the time trouble for no good reason, because we had this position analyzed at home, and somehow I spent tons of time thinking about taking on e7 with queen or a rook, though the position with rook e7 and the pawn sacrifice basically was just briefly analyzed, and I thought I had compensation. So instead of spending an hour and a half or so reaching the position, I could have spent maybe 15-20 minutes. So, and yeah, and of course, the game 9, so the end game, I could have, it was not that difficult to actually figure out that there was a black fortress, that could be quite hold quite easily. But again, I was not ready for the Karpov's meticulous accumulation of the advantages.
Mm-hmm. But in terms of having belief in yourself and having confidence, I guess that was always your stronger point, right? That was never the issue in your career, right, from the start.
No, that's just I always had believed that I can. It sounds even arrogant, self-confident, but I always believe that the outcome of the game will depend on my ability to play well. So I paid respect to my opponents, but it was all what I cared most was my own conditions, my own game, my own moves, which can sometimes backfire, but in most cases, help me to stay on top for so long, because I was always very critical. Thanks to my great teacher, Mikhail Botvinnik, was always critical about my own performance. Even if I won the game, I was still willing to actually find what I did wrong.
Yeah, but actually, that's in a way it signifies a lot of confidence. Yeah, that you are so self-critical because you believe that it depends on you and that you shouldn't be making mistakes. That basically is, if you trace it down, it's basically a sign of enormous confidence, because you realize that essentially it's up to you and it's all in your hands. So that is definitely. But I imagine, you're also, your career, like from the start, the results didn't really give you reason to doubt yourself at any point. So the greatest game comes in the masterclass after the matches. We already discussed that one. Mm-hmm. And then there is a very big chunk, 19 episodes about humans and machines. And I was actually surprised to see in how great a detail you've gone there, and you've analyzed a lot of games as well, right? What made you decide to do that?
Look, again, that's what people want to know. Yeah, chess was on the forefront of human machine competition. So from the early days of computer science, chess was viewed by founding fathers like Alan Turing, Claude Shannon, Norbert Wiener as the ultimate test for machines to become intelligent. And they believed, because they had no access to computing power of that magnitude. So computers were, not slow. They were just almost non-functioning by modern standards. So that for machines to outperform humans, machines will have to emulate our cognitive process. We know that they were wrong. So it's the brute force proved to be far more important factor. And somehow the match with Deep Blue was just a demonstration of that. So that's because Deep Blue was anything but intelligent. But again, it's not about intelligence. It's about using machines' advantage, and we see that the brute force keeps adding to machines improved performance generation after generation. We may say that alpha zero concept changes, but it's still not it's this total departure from the brute force concept. And I wanted just to share again my own experience with computers, just to tell how I viewed the rise of the machines. That's using one of the Terminator's titles. So and also, how we shifted from competing to collaborating, because in chess, actually, we were first to recognize that the rest will be the matter of time. So
if you can't beat them, join them, right?
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. So that's what I knew in 1998. I was really upset after 97, and I still played a couple more matches. I played against Deep Junior and played against Deep Fritz. By the way, both matches were ties, and I think I had an initiative in both matches. It was 2003, and by the way, both computers were at least as good as Deep Blue, but it was just, I wouldn't call it agony, but I already knew that, those were the last episodes of this experiment, because you could see the trend. The trend was just machines kept, improving so rapidly. And again, that was a time to start collaboration. And that's why in 1998, I suggested the what I call advanced chess, human plus machine facing another human plus machine. So that's and again, this story is important because everything we do today is connected to computers. I mean, literally everything. So it
translates to other fields of life. Yeah,
exactly. That's what people want to know. So there's more about it. And chess, chess has probably the richest history of our fight with machines, our collaboration with machines, and that's why I believed, again, making these stories more personal and also entertainment and also education. So in probably in this chapter, we have all these three components, merged together in the purest form and creating the best possible synergy.
Yeah, and I think this is also a topic that you know by now so much about. I believe you were touring with this subject, the AI, for over a year.
Yeah.
So you have the knowledge and the
you believe it or not, my last speech on this topic was a week ago in Austin, Texas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my audience was the Congress of Neurosurgeons.
Wow.
Yeah, because they all use computers, and it's the neurosurgeons today. They operate with this advanced technology that that brings together humans and machines. So they wanted to hear about my experience. So and that's something that I could share. Again, I don't pretend to be an expert in this area or in many other areas where human-machine collaboration becomes still sort of the order of the day. But they all find this experience, our experience from chess, actually my personal experience by dealing with machines, whether fighting or collaborating, are very useful for them to formulate their own ideas, how to maximize the effect from the computers, and also how to make sure that we humans are still in the driving seat.
Yeah, no, for sure, very interesting topic. I was, by the way, surprised because I knew this Hydra Adams things, of course, the Hydra, the Fritz 3D, all this, of course, the Deep Blue, obviously. But I didn't know the Bent Larsen, that it was, I believe, was it the first Grandmaster loss?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't remember that fun fact, and I think that you talk about it.
Yeah. I think 1988, and
it's insane. Yeah, so long ago.
And that's why they got so cocky at the time. They wanted to play me. In 1989, we played two games in New York City. I think the time control was an hour and a half for the game, and I won very easily. It was deep thought. So
deep thought. What do you like? Because I haven't watched that. I didn't have the time to watch that. What do you think is the strength of that approximately in terms of rating? Deep thought at 88, 89?
Yeah, I don't know. Because it could beat grandmasters. Again, it depended on position, on the type of
it was
position.
very uneven, yeah. I guess very uneven.
I remember that after game 3 against Deep Fritz in 2003 in New York, that I won, this in a close slot when I just, basically paralyzed my opponents. I didn't even see what's coming. Yasa Sarawan made a good observation. He said it's a like a second category player, so just it's a strong amateur who doesn't blunder. This is just so it makes no blunders. So I think that in average, I would put probably computer at the rate still, probably 2450. Mm-hmm. Yes, maybe 2500. But again, this is very much like a shogi player. When I play Habu, the world champion, this at the time shogi champion, and he was also the strongest Japanese player in classical chess. But this is what I discovered, is that because of the specific elements of shogi, there's no end game there. It's all about attack. So he could play 2650 by creating combinations, but in the end game, he'll be probably 2200 or a little less. So that's why the second game
so asymmetrical,
absolutely asymmetrical. So the second game I won, it was a drawish end game, but he couldn't figure out that my king could go, into his camp, because in shogi the king doesn't go just in front of the army. So the same is here. It was so imbalanced. If you look at these games, you will say, "Oh, that's a joke." I mean, this computer, because the first game it was the Sicilian, and then you see I totally outplayed it. It just I played black, and it had this pawns, c5 d4, my pawn on d5, knight on c6. And pawns b7 a6 versus b3, I think bishop on d3, and eventually I put my heavy pieces on the rook on d4, queen behind, and then just start attack on the king's side. It didn't, you say it didn't understand it. Second game was even worse. It lost, I just simply changed the move order in the queen's gambit, accepted, and it collapsed, and it moved probably 13. The game was over. So you look at these two games, you say, come on, joke. But you look at other games, like you play against Larson, and say, wow, that's so for quite a while, the strengths of the computer depend so much on the position. It's much less so now, of course. We know that they're getting
that's already a different story now, for sure.
Absolutely.
Fun fact, by the way, about the shogi, well, you mentioned, I remember when I had that thought in your game with Topalov, because in shogi, crossing with the king to the other side is the safest thing you can do, because pieces cannot move backwards.
Exactly.
In fact, if both kings cross and the other crosses the other way, it's just a draw, because you cannot attack, so it's just finished. There's no way.
Yes.
But in the game with Topalov, that was definitely not the case. The attack was still there.
yes. That's thanks for reminding this about this.
No, for sure. By the way, these games with deep thought, and that was the thing that I want to say also about the chapters with the humans versus machines, is that these games are all analyzed as well. And then, of course, it's not like now. There's the board, and it's an experience. And finally, the last is mastering the fundamentals, and that is a little bit of, I guess, what Masterclass, what sort of many people would have in mind when they say Masterclass. The actual chess improvement sort of advices and lessons, and that is the final bit. And I guess you touch on sort of the a little on the opening, middle game, end game, and so on, and the tactic, strategy, all these things and terms. How would you describe yourself this final chapter?
Look, this is at the end of the day, it's masterclass. So this is you have to share some knowledge, and I try to do it in the most consumable way. So that's just to make sure that this information will not be like a tip, but it's an inform that people can just to use for their advantage by just finding elements of the game that could help them to understand how they feel if they want to play chess. So how they feel of being a chess player and what elements of this presentation could benefit them most. But again, this masterclass needs some kind of masterclass.
This basically yes. But in fact, I think, like, it's my personal opinion, but I do think sort of the other things are of more value, probably because they're more personal, and that's where your sort of you, like, as an individual come, because basically many of these things could be taught essentially also by a simple coach, right?
Exactly. That was a whole point. So exactly. I didn't want to do the work where just that could be almost copy pasted by someone else. But there's no one way to teach chess, and you have coaches, and then now you can get internet online lessons. So but also I wanted to make sure that this is the hour lessons recorded by you and others, so they will, I will refer to them. So that's important that, there's the reference. Again, just making it a little bit more personal. But at the end of the day, it's just, it's not dull, but it's just, again, there's no element of uniqueness. There's no element of sensation there. So
but I mean, it's still more pleasant for viewers when some things are taught to them by Garry Kasparov rather than by someone they've never heard of. So it is better. I understand perfectly what you mean, that from your point of view, that is sort of the chapter that you would be sort of least, that jumps out the least, let's say, in some sense.
One, but it has a list of personal character, but still, it's you have to satisfy public expectations and to make sure
for sure, and also live up to the name.
Some role knowledge as well.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask a little bit about the about sort of the form, like the setting, and I mean, it might sound a bit strange, but I honestly was curious, and you'll be surprised, but I was honestly curious, like in terms of the setting and even the details, like your clothing. Was there any of your input, or was somebody, because it's clearly thought through, but I don't know if it was done by somebody?
Look, it was professionally prepared. So, and I let's say I did not object against their suggestions, because I thought these suggestions were quite complementary to the presentation. So it should be relatively simple, but also proper. So and again, using the black color, so we knew would be probably the sort of the simplest way to actually to stay just within the theme.
Yeah, but it is a little different than let's say if you look at your at how you presented yourself back in your professional career. There are different times, but let's say you were dressed far more officially, and here you had even some sneakers, and you clearly on purpose decided not to put on a suit or anything like that.
But this is it's very personal. So that's you don't want to add elements of formality. So that's because you want to create it's a monologue. I talk to them, but you want to create an impression of a dialogue. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's almost like I'm here sitting at home. So and you're sitting at home, and we talk about it, and you can hear a story. So that's I thought the best atmosphere where this message can reach potential customer, and make the best impression.
Yeah, for sure. I found it very elegant, and also I've seen a few full episodes, and I think I saw just two different setups. One with this very very spectacularly decorated room with this the vase and the table, but there was one setup where I don't know how they filmed it, but it's just you, a chair, a table. And it looks like these scenes, from like Matrix, where you meet God. There's the God in the chair, and there's like whiteness. It was I found it very spectacular.
Again, you should probably talk to the operators, but that's the idea. You wanted to be a little more creative, so just to move from this home, home style environment, and then you create a space. Though, as you know, it's basically it's the same stage. But because
I know. But of course, they made it look.
The magic of the camera and the setup, so you can create virtually any impression you want.
Yeah, but I thought it's just it was really cool, and I think that also helps. That the picture looks nice. Though of course, but it's the content that is the
quality. Yeah, people want quality. Absolutely.
For sure.
You are if it's entertainment, so it should be quality entertainment.
Yeah. Let's see if we can take maybe some questions, because I think we've sort of went through the masterclass as it is, and it touches on a lot of subjects we discussed, also a lot of subjects we didn't get to discuss because we had an hour. I think the masterclass is 10 hours.
We can cover everything.
Let me see if I have a question. It would be nice if I would have a question selection of them sent to me somewhere, because otherwise it's really hard to look for them in the chat. Somebody in my chat asked, he's probably everybody is a fan of Vishy. He's asking your opinion on Vishy still playing, because you've retired. But Vishy keeps on going.
I'm very happy to see Vishy playing and winning. So so it just shows that if you are fully dedicated to the game, so the talent is aging, but it's not as much as people think if you keep up. And Vishy is definitely keeping up.
Yeah, no, for sure. Everybody is extremely delighted also, because you want the whole spectrum of players present, and you've got the young players, and you also got the rare.
Yeah. Vishy is playing. By the way, you said it's not that I retired. Kramnik retired. So he's younger than me.
Yes. Now you can point to him. He also retired.
I'm 6 years younger than older than Vishy. Kramnik 6 years younger than Vishy. So that's
no, for sure, no, retire. Of course, I mean, I don't know. You probably asked it. Was asked a million times, but I cannot not ask it. Probably your opinion, of course, on Nepo versus Magnus, because it's coming so soon. And besides the opinion, actually, I was wondering, do you have any plans to do something like during the match? You will be there, or maybe some broadcast, something? No plans.
I've no plans so far. So naturally on Kasparovchess, I will be making a few comments about the match. So I'll be following the match. But I don't have any special plans related to the match. So I have my own plans that are not chess related. So it's the.
But there will be some sort of recaps of yours, I imagine, on Kasparovchess.
Yeah. I always tell people that if they want to bet, they have to bet on Magnus. I guess so. He's a key favorite in the match. But I think it's people probably think it will be easier for Magnus than it will be. So Magnus' performance is, let's say, less convincing. He's more vulnerable than before. And also, you look at the last two matches he played against Karyakin and Caruana. Yeah, they were not his greatest accomplishments. So he may, if Magnus plays, in his full capacity, he will, of course, win.
Yeah, he's got that same thing going as you were told when you talk about yourself, right? You said that if it's up to me, but pretty much, and the same, it's up to him.
It's up to Magnus, but so far, again, I'm not confident Magnus can play in his full capacity. So he makes more blunders. He's getting nervous. So I could see more weaknesses. Again, if he could eliminate not all of them, but most of them, he will be on top. But I still think the match might have few surprises. So
definitely something to look forward to.
Exactly, absolutely,
for sure, always. And then a question. I mean, I'm sure chat has a bunch of interesting questions, but I think our time is running out, and I just have a question I want to ask myself, because I also don't get, can't get you on demand, and here you are. So I'll ask a question that was of interest to me. Like you seen chess, for a very, very long time, and professional chess. You've been involved in the organizational aspect of it as well, with all sorts of organizations, and you've seen all the different trends and in sponsorship and all the other things, the time controls. And I was wondering, especially now, as you see that there is clearly sort of a boost in the rapid and blitz chess and in online chess as well. How do you see, or whether you do see, or whether you think, or do you spend a lot of time thinking about this, like the sort of the future of professional chess, especially in regard to the time control and the online online chess as it is now?
Look, I think it's inevitable that the classical chess will eventually be reduced to the last few decimal places. So it's like classical opera against the pop music or just rock music. So and it will probably survive at a very top level. So and most of chess, we're talking about 90% plus, maybe 99% will be rapid blitz and online. So I'm not saying whether it's good or bad. It's just, something that has been happening. And I think this is a trend that helps chess to actually stay afloat. So, but at the same time, we must make sure that the real tournaments, the in-person tournaments, they survive. So, and again, it's those who want to preserve what I call purity of the game of chess. They say, that's terrible. That's so bad. That's the game is just losing its uniqueness. It's like a magic touch. But if we want chess to become more popular, we just have to rely on online games. So as we have to rely on online services. And also, we need, just to attract the audience by something more entertaining. And of course, rapid and even blitz. Rapid actually probably is a better form because you have time to explain something. So that's what attracts people. So that's again, it's easiest sell. And again, the game needs its audience. So that's why I hope we'll eventually find balance. Just to preserve, the classical chess as a staple of our game.
Yeah, I see. But in terms of like, because as you said, yeah, like we are basically all trying to popularize the game, let's say, and naturally it's much easier to do so if the game is faster, if it's rapid. But then the question sort of is, because right now still the world champion is the one who wins the classical match, yeah? Do you think that will be preserved for years to come, or that could also come in danger of
I would very
rapid?
much hope so. Yeah, again, I cannot guarantee it, but I think it's we need, as long as we need to promote the game and make it more popular, there's still certain events should keep its uniqueness. And the world title is a world title. We had 16 world champions in our history, and I hate the idea of just the title to be to become something like it's
sort of lose value, yeah, pretty much.
It's a bargaining chip, in the never-ending advertising game. So and it still drags attention. So it's people will be, a lot of people will be watching the match. It's still a big show. So and also the match the world championship match has always becomes a massive contribution to the development of the game, because you have now big teams, computers, things, ideas being analyzed. So and we'll see something new. I mean, not maybe revolution new at Move 5. Naturally, but we'll see still some, I'm sure, new concepts and new ideas. And the game again, if you look at the game in the last 30, 40 years, the game always had been influenced by the world champions' ideas. So I remember that when Kramnik introduced Berlin in 2000, a lot of people said, that's worked only against Kasparov. Okay, now let's look around.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I think many people say that the world champions introduce new ideas, but I would maybe think that maybe those who introduce new ideas become world champions. Maybe that's also the way.
Who introduced revolutionary concepts? Yes, that's somehow things connected. So that's absolutely. And I also would like to say that I hope that we'll see more of 960. Because it's not just because I feel more comfortable, because I don't have to work at the
You had a good result there recently.
Yes, I did much better in the 960, but it still is something that I think it's also creates more excitement and more entertainment, because all of a sudden at Move 3 or 4 or 5 you have situations that nobody could predict, and again that's good to promote the game. But the World Championship match still to be played in a very old-fashioned way.
Yeah, and I think the good thing is that you don't have to exclude things, like they can coexist, that's the beauty of it.
That's the way. It's the way to move forward is always to find the right balance.
Yeah, no, thanks for this. I mean, of course, it started as and it remained also the sort of a celebration of the publishing of the Masterclass that on Kasparovchess, which is a special piece of content of over 10 hours of Garry Kasparov exclusively there. And thanks for joining. If you'd like to say something, or if you forgot to mention something?
I just hope that more people will join Kasparovchess.com and enjoy Masterclass. And there's more to come, because we always wanted to make our website Kasparovchess.com as a home for those who want to learn and to be entertained. So it's something that I hope offers unique content. And again, we welcome those who like to extend their knowledge of the game of chess and to see chess as something that could be not only educational but entertaining as well.
Yeah, and there are, in practical terms, I'm sure there are a lot of links and descriptions of both the streams, and also the mods can always spam the links as well. So I think it will not be difficult. Also, you can just Google Kasparov chess and you will get Kasparov chess. That's how Google works. So thanks, Garry, a lot. It's been really a pleasure for me.
Thank you for your time also. Thank you.
No, for sure. And I will go on thinking whether I should be attacking player or a defensive player. That will be my.
You're just good. It can always, finding the balance is a way.
Finding the balance. Thank you, Garry. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.